We've got the league here, and we've got Beyond Housing here. So I thought that we would start with Mr. Hogg, who could welcome us.
Secretary for the Joint Executive Board in that capacity. Thank you. That's so much better. This is a time for new beginnings for the Normandy School Collaborative. Our new superintendent, Dr. Michael Triplett, is less than 2 weeks into his tenure and is this meeting with our strategic partners, our school leaders, staff, family, and students. He's been meeting with them pretty regularly, spending a lot of time in the district, acquainting himself on a personal level with all of the folks who serve. And so we thank him for that. He is a strong leader and laser focused on improving our academics and our community. We thank him for joining our district, and we are lucky to have him leading the ship. I also want to thank all of the candidates here this evening for your willingness to serve our students, families, and community. Serving on a board of education is a significant undertaking. We appreciate your eagerness to bring your ideas and experience to work together with other members of the Joint Executive Governing Board to move our district and this community forward. I get to see firsthand the dedication of our board members. We work together to improve our district, which leads to the success of our community. Again, thank you, candidates, for your willingness to serve, and we thank you for our audience for attending this evening. Thank you, and we welcome this lively conversation. I'll turn it back over to Ms. Finn.
All right. Can everybody hear me in the back? Okay. I'd like to welcome the superintendent here. And I bet you don't even have your boxes unpacked. And Dr. Michael Triplett, if you'd just like to introduce yourself and say a couple of things.
Good evening. Thank you. Dr. Petty, you have some stiff competition. That's a pretty good hype man, too. Really good hype man. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm truly, truly appreciative of this opportunity. To bosses, what do you have to say to the future bosses? But I do appreciate your commitment to this community, to the NSC community. I look forward to partnershiping with you. I look forward to supporting you and the district. One of the most important relationships in any school district is that relationship between the board and the superintendent. Because that's how you get the work done. That's that speed to trust. That's that place where we ship, make sure we're still shipping in the right direction. So I look forward to working with you and having fun in the process. Thank you.
Right. And on behalf of the St. Louis League of Women Voters, the Normandy School Collaborative, and our host Beyond Housing, welcome to this candidate forum. The forum is live streamed and will also be available. So I want you all to send it to the folks that you know so they can look at it on both Normandy's YouTube and their Facebook page. And it's going to stay up there. So please make sure that you circulate it. My name is Kathleen Farrell, and I'm going to be your moderator for this evening. I first want to thank our candidates for participating. All of them are here. That doesn't always happen, and so this is terrific. Now, you all are going to choose 3 of these 6 folks to serve 3-year terms. They are in order as they appear on the ballot. Mr. Driver Henderson, Mr. William Humphrey, and if everybody would just hold your applause to the end, that would be great. I want to get 20 questions out here. That's my goal tonight. So, Mr. Humphrey, Ms. Violet Taylor, Ms. Marcita Reed, Ms. Andrea Feltus Flynn, and Ms. Teresa Pearson. They're going to give their opening statements in that order. And then the closing statement up the table, and Ms. Pearson is going to be first. Now, the League believes that one of the best ways for voters to learn about the people who want to represent you is to hear them and to have them answer your questions in a civil public forum. And as I said, we're doing a lot of these right now, and I will simply say that very interesting school district out in the West, out in Eureka we did last week, and this looks like a very civil, serious group of folks sitting at this table, for which I am eternally grateful after that experience. It has been a tough time for your schools and community, but I know you come tonight because you care deeply about your schools, your community, and our children, and they're all of our children. And I wanted you to know that one of the things that the League of Women Voters is doing this year, under the leadership of Joan Hubbard, who's our vice president, some of you may know her, is we are fighting in the legislature for what we're calling equity, equitable funding, not equal funding, equitable funding. So my school district, which is in the city, and also this school district and other school districts who do not have equitable resources. And so we have made this a priority. We are testifying. We're trying to fight some of the education stuff that is going on in the legislature, and this is want to see all of us succeed. That's what we want to do. And before you vote. So the following rules, I think, will help make that happen. As I said, each candidate's going to have 2 minutes, and then we're going to have questions, and each candidate's going to have 1 minute to answer a question. Now, if you all have written a question directed to one person, I'm going to switch it up just a little bit so that it's good for everybody to answer. Because all the candidates get to respond to all of the closing statement. Now, you all have already started, but I want you to keep it going now. You are going to write questions about issues in your district that you need answered. We don't want to have questions about somebody's personal history or their family. We want issues in the school district and how they will move the district forward. So, I have written no questions, okay? These are your questions. And if you will just write 1 question for each part, okay? And if you're done, or if you think of another question, just raise your hand and our volunteers will come around with cards and pencils so that you can write another, okay? And that's what I'm going to use tonight. I'm going to ask you to wait with your applause, no matter how much you like what somebody has said, or you like what they have said. If we can wait till the end, that would be wonderful, because we want to try to answer as many questions. Ms. Clark over there is the timekeeper. She is a tough lady, and she's got signs. One of them says 30 seconds. One of them says stop. And I'm a retired professor, and I can cut you off in a nice and humorous way. So, respect everybody's time. I'm going to combine questions that I get from you all if they're alike, and I retain the right to do that. And just make sure that we keep going. Now, please audio tape this if you want to, or record it in any way you want to. This is an open forum, and share them with everybody. So, with that in mind, everybody ready to start? Let's start then with our first speaker, which is Mr. Henderson. Your 2-minute opening statement. You got your mic. Can you hear him? Okay.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
All right.
you got to do it.
All right. This is for the video audience.
Yeah.
Hi, folks. I'm glad to see most everybody. Where's Chris Kramer? I didn't recognize you with glasses. I have a picture of you and I with Dr. McNichols. I'm here if anybody would like to see. It's a little bone week for me. And representative of the senior citizens and representative of when this area was almost all right. I, believe it or not, went to school. This is where I started. In Normandy, in the 3rd grade, in the pavilion out here, which was going from and I had the after the 3rd grade in the pavilion, my 4th grade was here in this building. This gym was not constructed. Bothers me. If it doesn't bother you, I'm glad, but I would rather not hear myself a second later. I must have an hour's worth of notes I can refer to and would like to.
Good evening. My name is William Humphrey, and I just want to share a little bit of information about myself. I've been a resident of this community for 40 years. I lived my first 2 years in the Atherton Park Apartments in Veneta Park, and then I moved to Belle Noire, where I've been at Belle Noire for the last 38 years, and I have been married for 40 years to the same woman. She has not put me out. So we're continuing to do the things that we do. And I'm running for school board. First of all, I'm a current incumbent. I'm on the school board. And this is actually my 9th year of combined service to the community. The first time I was on the school board as an elected school board member, it was from 2007 until 2014. And I was actually the president at the time of the state takeover. And then later, in 2020, I was contacted by the state board and appointed to the current board now that I serve. So I've been on the board now for a total of 2 years. So together, that's the combined 9 years. Now, I'm running for school board because of the fact that I believe our children deserve the best quality of education that we can provide. I've often said to my colleagues that we have to compete against the best school districts in the state, no matter who they are. And we have to prepare our children to be able to compete. And so because of that, it means we have to start having some very uncomfortable conversations about putting in better systems to get the kind of outcomes that we need. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Violet Taylor. I'd just like to start off by saying I am a resident of Normandy School District. I have been for the past 25 years. My children started over at Harrison, over on Albin Avenue, which is no longer a school. That's how far back I've gone. One of the things that inspired me to run for the Normandy School District, if you noticed on your personal property tax years ago, they had on the back of it, it had a breakdown of the taxes and where your tax money went. The last time it was on that form, it said that the Normandy School District was taking 47% of my tax dollars, and it gave a breakdown of where it went. That inspired me to want to run for the Normandy School District because we know that the money is coming into the school, we know it's coming into the district, but want to make sure that the money, the funding, everything that we have, our children are the most important thing. And we have a saying that our children are our future, but without education and without properly being educated, they don't have a future. And how do we know that? All we have to do is turn on the news. We have to look and see the things that are going on in our neighborhood, and we see that our children as a whole are failing. And not only as a mother of 4 Normandy graduates, I'm a grandmother of 7. And the one thing that I want to do, I want to see my grandchildren succeed. They are not in the Normandy School District, and it doesn't matter what school district they're in. I want them to succeed, but I want the Normandy School District to succeed. I want our children to have as many benefits as they possibly can. We may not be the greatest per se, but guess what? We can make it the greatest district. Over 26 years. I started at Normandy School District way back in the 90s. I retired from the St. Louis Public Schools, and I know firsthand that children should be first. They come first. And even though I'm a retired educator, I still, involved with the children, the youth, at my church, all around me. So I still have that concern and that care for them. Also, for the children to be able to learn and to get things going in the school district, they have to have support from everybody, not just the teachers, not just the principals, the superintendent. They have to have the community support. They have to know that someone cares for them, and they have to know that you're going to be there for them. So if they don't have that support or that caring, that they know that people are for them, then they don't want to learn. Because some have came to school and saying that they don't want to go home, they want to be at school. And they feel safe at school, then that means you're doing something because they want to come to school.
And the next thing I wanted to say is that I'm an alderman person for the city of Anita Park also. Thank you.
Good evening, engaged and empowered citizens, because that's what you are. Okay, you can hear me? Okay, great. Okay, let me start over. Good evening, engaged and empowered citizens, Normandy Schools Collaborative, the League of Women Voters, and Beyond Housing for hosting us. My name is Andrea Feltus Flynn. And I'll begin with this African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Emphasis on together. I can't think of anything more precious and valuable than our children to focus on and come together and invest in. You all have already demonstrated that you're there. You're ready. And I'm ready to invest with you, bringing my leadership experience and knowledge as an educator and school administrator for 31 plus years, and most importantly, my heart to the table. Some people say, who would want to be on a school board in these changing times? Well, I think our kids are worth it. I believe that they are worth it. And we don't have to change the times. We can change. We don't have to change with the times. We can change the times and make our schools better. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Pearson. I am a resident of the Normandy School District and have been for the past 36 years. I am a graduate from Normandy from pre-K to 12 years, and I also have a child in the Normandy School District. I took my daughter out of the school district during the pandemic and put her in private school, thinking maybe there would be something better. After 2 years, Normandy is something better. That's my reason for running for school board, because I see what Normandy has and what could be improved. I've been there in the past with being a student, now as a parent, and also seeing things that other parents are needing, other people from the community are needing. So I want to bridge the communication between the parents, the student, and the community in the school district. That's my reason for running.
Student success is at the end of the graduation cycle. Student success is defined by a student making a decision about what path they want to be on, whether or not it's college, whether or not it's trade school, or the military. And so it's up to the school district to equip that young person with the necessary skills to be successful in their avenue of choice. As an example, I have 3 children that graduated from the Normandy School District, my daughter, my son, and I also raised a nephew from the age of 11 to 21. They all graduated. And each one of them received their education through Normandy, and they're now on a success path based on the foundation that Normandy gave them. My daughter is currently working in public relations and marketing for an organization nationally. My son is in Atlanta. He is a music producer and studio engineer, and my nephew actually works for Spectrum. And so based on the foundation that Normandy gave them, it put them in a place that they could begin to start achieving some of their dreams, because I truly believe that a quality education will put you on a different trajectory in life. And so because of that, I think that success, from a student standpoint, they have to be able to want a particular dream and desire and then go forth and begin to make it a reality.
One minute. As a mother, student success for me means starting that child out even from kindergarten. A student has to have a desire to want to come to school to learn. And if you put forth the effort, like I did with my children, I always attended PTAs, after school programs, Christmas programs. All of those were a part of my agenda. And so when you have a child who is determined that they want to get up, go to school every day and learn and have a desire to finish school, to get an education, and to excel in life, for me, that's a success. That's a success. But success has to start at home. And I think we have to instill in our children that in order for you to be successful in this life, you have to go to school. You must go to school. And that's one of the problems that we have today. A lot of our children have lost that desire to go to school.
Yes, first and foremost, it takes a village. Everybody heard that. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes everybody, not just the school. It takes the community. It takes everybody to help their child and give them support. And all that said, when I was teaching in the schools, you got to start from the preschool level on up, because if we don't reach our youngest children first, and when they go up to the different grades, then they would know they would want to learn and get better at learning and want to come to school. So it takes everybody to help them to get involved with their learning.
Okay, Ms. Feltus Flynn.
Success for a student or anyone is quite simply the ability to get results. And as students chart their path through life, if they're not able to get the results that they want in order to survive and to thrive in this society, then they're not going to be successful, quite simply. And it is our job as the community or the village, as has been said, to help them be able to get the results. Thank you.
To me, student success looks more than good grades and going to school every day. Student success looks like a happy child. And as a village, as we've all said at the table, as a village, everyone needs to step in. That goes for the teachers, the parents, the school, counselors, even resources. So student success looks like having the resources for those students when they need them. Or if you don't have them, you're going to find them.
Finally, would you like to answer that question, Mr. Henderson?
Finally, sure. Student success is a child's happiness and looking back on their school experience as a worthwhile, good endeavor on top of proficiency in English and proficiency in math. If they don't come, I would rather, I could be outvoted. I think we see this happening too often. The diploma should mean proficiency in math and English at the least. Proficiency plus happiness. That's a success.
Ms. Taylor, we're going to start with you this time. And what is the number one proficiency challenge the district faces, and what would you do about it? In 1 minute.
I believe that the number one challenge is the ability for our children to read. Because the reports that we have seen in the past 12 months, I do want to back up and say I was a candidate on last year. And so I have attended some of those meetings. And from the information that we have seen, our students are failing in reading. They're failing in reading. And I believe the way to improve that, more time has to be spent on teaching our children how to read. One thing I could always do as a little girl, I always knew how to read, and it came easy to me. But we do realize it's not always that easy for other children. So we need to have some, put people in place who are willing to sit down, take the time, and you must have patience. Have patience and teach that child that they must learn to read.
Yes, I agree with Ms. Violet that reading is very important. I have a little short story. I hope it don't take me over a minute. But my grandmother, she started me reading when I was about 4 years old. She took me to get my first library card at 5. So after she started reading, she showed me how to read because she was reading herself. So I picked up a book because I was imitating her. And so I started reading. Now I can say now I love reading. And when I was teaching my kids in the school, I would pick up a book. When it was reading time, I would pick up my book and read with them. So if you show them that reading is really fun, plus it helps you to learn and open up doors for you, then they will do it too. So it's an imitation of the reading. And I think reading is very important.
Ms. Feltes-Flint.
Again, reading. Reading is the passport through life. If you can't read, your life is very, very difficult on so many levels. And so we just cannot neglect the fact that reading is, as I said before, the passport to life. And what I think needs to happen is that reading needs to be fun for children. And the more that they are able to read things that they would like. I mean, really, comic books was the first introduction for a lot of kids into reading. And it's something that they like. And you have to make it your goal in the home, in the school, reading across curriculum, in every subject area, even in math, reading is important. So if it's implemented across the curriculum, in the home, on all levels, again, it takes all of us working together to emphasize reading, and it must be modeled in the home and everywhere that they go. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Pearson.
Like everyone else said, reading is the subject that needs the most attention. My opinion, connect with some of the municipalities. There are 24 municipalities in the school district. Connect with some of those and possibly form an after-school program, some type of incentive. Kids love incentives. Give them some type of incentive. Volunteer hours, snacks, new books. Who doesn't love a new book? Those type of things would be great for the children in order to up their reading. And then if they're already proficient in reading, they can assist someone else with their reading. Help their friend who's maybe behind in reading, or help someone that's younger than them, their younger sibling, their younger neighbor. Read with some of the elders in their neighborhood. Offer different type of programs so that reading is not a chore, is more of something that's fun. Because at the end of the day, if you don't read, then, what do you know?
Very much. Mr. Henderson, you're next.
Yes, I agree that reading is number one. I can tell you that I have attended as an adult in recent years, and if you don't know, I've run 10 years ago for school board, twice more than that, maybe. and I lost by a very narrow margin, probably because of my race, if you don't mind. But I have learned a lot in the years recent, and I need to tell you that I've been told when I attend recent graduations, one teacher or another who I've had occasion to be introduced to has come up to me and said, Mr. Henderson, I have had 5 children who got a diploma tonight who read at the 5th grade level. Now, whose fault is it?
Finally, Mr. Humphrey.
You know, when you talk about the proficiency challenge, I'm going to take a slightly different slant to it because I think in order to undergird improving proficiency, we have to figure out how to engage parents in a different way. We need to be able to talk to parents about what it is the kids don't know how to do, and we have to have continuous communication with parents around those things. You know, we talked about reading. Reading is a thing that it opens up new worlds to the young people. So you got to find out what are they interested in and find something that they can read around that subject. But more important than the proficiency is attendance. We must have children at school every day and ready to learn. Because if they're not at school, the learning that needs to take place in that environment does not occur. And so we need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to get attendance up, because many people, I'll tell many people that the only number that's important to me is 100.
And we're going to start with you this time, Ms. Reed. And here's the question. And we're going to have a couple of tough ones in here, but you know, these people, you refer to them as your bosses, Mr. Superintendent. So a couple of folks said, what do you expect of this superintendent to right the ship? We're going to start with you, Ms. Reed.
Could you repeat the question again?
Your superintendent to right the ship.
What I expect for him to do is just do what is first for the children. Do what is expected of him with the children, with the board, and be able to agree with each other, meet with each other, and just have a conversation with everybody to see where their needs are and what needs to be done. And then if we work together, then we would be better, and we can build the school district up together better too.
Thank you very much. Ms. Feltus Flynn.
I would expect our superintendent to do his homework. He's been given an assignment to come into this district and make some changes. And in order to do that, you need to know the district. You need to know the people, all the stakeholders. And one important group that sometimes get left out, and they're the group that this is all about, and that's our students. Get with our students. Get to know them. Most of the times, kids don't even know who the superintendent is. So get personal. Get to know all aspects of our district, the residents, the students, the teachers, the faculty, the school board, everyone. And then I think you can work from that standpoint of knowledge and information.
Ms. Pearson.
I'm expecting the superintendent to keep open communication, not just with the school board or the staff, but with the parents, the community, the students. They do recognize if anyone is being seen and being heard. I've heard it myself in the last couple of weeks. They're noticing who's stepping into leadership. Keep an open communication with them, whether it's not good news or whether it's bad news. I mean, good news or bad news. Keep open communication with them. Communication can solve a lot of things along with comprehension. That, and stay to your word. You gave us a good word, and that's why we put you in your position. So that's all I have.
All right, Mr. Henderson. You want to pass that mic down to him? Oh, he's got his.
I wish I didn't have to use this microphone. the disappointment of picture of Chris Kramer and I putting our hands on Superintendent McNichols. He was a very nice guy. He was a pleasant fellow to be with. But too often he used the expression, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I think the most important thing for our superintendent is to care. And I believe he does. He wouldn't have built such a fine resume. And with that resume, if he cares, we're going to succeed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Humphrey.
Well, the question around what do we expect of the superintendent, we expect the superintendent to be data-driven, to be able to examine all the district data, whether it's reading data, attendance data, staff attendance data, and be able to make those courageous decisions and recommendations to the board about how to establish change in the district. The expectation would be that he would be an excellent communicator, both at the board level, at the central office level, among the staff, and that he sets the tone for how the school district operates.
Thank you. Finally, Ms. Taylor.
My expectation is I agree with everything that has been said. I also expect the superintendent to be approachable. I expect the superintendent, when things are brought to the district, that the superintendent steps up and he does what is expected of him. I do want to say we received an email. It was out on the Normandy newsletter, and there were so many things that you said, that you made promises to the Normandy School District. We're expecting you to stand behind those promises that you made. We expect you to be there for not only the students, the educators, and for the parents, because we know we have a lot of parents out here. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with their children, and when they send their children to school, some of them even expect the school to raise the children, but that's not our job and that's not your job. But we do want to hold you. We do want to hold you to the commitment you made.
Okay. Ms. Feltus-Flynn, you're going to start with this next question. And we're going to talk about some specific things. And you're going to be off the hot seat for now, and they're going to be on the hot seat for a while. So a couple of parents or people in the audience want to know what you're going to do about bullying, which they perceive as a huge problem, or what you would recommend we do.
This is probably going to be an odd answer for some of you. But the bullying takes place amongst the students. Again, we tend to leave students out of the answers. We need to have a culture in which bullying is unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. And that can start with our kids. I think right there in the classroom and even on the bus to school, if adults would turn over that part of the culture and climate to the students, in which students are willing to take up the baton and change the way things are if you give them the opportunity to do so. If you have two kids someone bullying another kid, and another kid on that bus says, oh no, we're not having that. You're not going to bully on this bus. We don't do that on this bus. Give the kids the opportunity to make a difference. They can do it. They can handle it.
With bullying, I feel like it's a disciplinary issue. It should go from the students. If the students can't solve it, counselors need to step in. And then kids need to be shown the consequences for bullying. Bullying is a serious thing among all types of people, from children to adults to the internet, everything. So with bullying, there should be more counseling done to it because they leads into a mental health issue. There should be different type of resources available for the children that are being bullied or that are doing the bullying, because in that case, they're both are victims. Resources are the option for bullying, in my opinion.
Mr. Henderson.
Thank you. I think the first thing I'd do is ask the superintendent, what do you think ought to be done? He's studied this, I'm sure, far more than I have. However, from what I have learned, it's a form of seeking attention, usually. And we, the teachers, the organization, all of us, need to look into what are they trying to get attention for, or why, or what's missing in their life that needs attention at the school in this way. I think we can make progress, and I haven't gotten around to telling you that I have been doing a lot of research on reparation as well as our school problems. And I think
Mr. Humphrey.
First of all, bullying is a problem. And I think the first thing that happens many times when a parent is told by the child that they've been bullied, we have to make sure that we have swift and clear communication back to the parent about what the issue is and how we're going to resolve it. A lot of the issues of bullying are shaped around school culture in terms of what's acceptable and not acceptable behavior. So we have to really work on, whether or not it's the positive behavior strategy we had before or things like that. But we have to be able to shape a culture in such a way that all the children and adults know that bullying is unacceptable. And as they get older, the cell phone and cyberbullying is equally a problem, and we have to begin to put policies in place around how cell phones are used so that cyberbullying does not promote bullying and the other kinds of things that will escalate that kind of behavior.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Once the bullying issue has been sent to the teachers, the administrators, the superintendent, and it has been addressed, it needs to make sure that the parents are aware of it. And a lot of times, bullies, they don't go home and tell their parents that they're bullying. A lot of times, the child that's being bullied does not go home and tell his parent that he's being bullied. But once they have the information gets out there should first of all be some type of disciplinary action taken at school. If it's not handled at the school, there needs to be a sit down with the parents, and the parents need to be made aware that this is a problem. And if it's something that you don't handle, then maybe it's something that needs to go further. Maybe it's something where maybe the law has to step in. So I think that parents need to be aware, and a lot of times they are not aware that their children are being bullied, and the majority of the time, the one that's doing the bullying, that parent is not aware that they are bullies.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Reed?
Yes, bullying is a big problem in our area now in these years. First of all, we have to inform our parents about it and let them know what bullying looks like. Because once they know what it looks like, they can talk to their kids about it. And then once they talk to their kids about it, then the kids can understand what it is and not to do that, because it does lead to mental illness, suicide. It's sad that it leads to a lot of other things too. So bullying is a big problem with all technology now, the cell phones, the TV and all that. So, and who has this and who has not that. So we need to inform our parents about it more.
All right. This time we're going to start with Ms. Pearson. And this is a question about special education and the special education district. The question, and there were two of them, said, we treat these kids in Normandy badly. They're referred to as the SSD kids. They're ostracized. we treat them separately. How could we change the culture and be more inclusive with those children?
I believe the culture can change with a little training, a little acknowledgement that their kids, just like everyone else's kids, they just need a little extra love. We may need to step out and get the teachers extra training, or get whoever, even the parents extra training, so that the parents and the teachers are on the same path when it comes to those children. Because again, they're all our children. We all love them. They just probably need a little extra love. Um, one of the things is not label them as the SSD children. And because when you look at it as a negative term, and it's not a negative term. Again, they're just children that need extra love. So getting resources for the parents, also the teachers, counselors, administrators in the buildings, just so that everyone is on the same path and there's no type of disconnect.
Mr. Henderson.
Picking up on the reparation, it is conceivable that we pay some cash to every African American descendant throughout the country. It is also conceivable that a fund, the reparation fund, be set up where 80% or 90% of it goes to education of African American descendant children.
Ed kids, you going to talk about that?
Special ed, we talk about what the teachers can do and what the parents can do. How many children? I don't know exactly. We don't hear exactly how many children don't live with their parents, and their parents are in stressful situations themselves. We need to get the student help at all levels, and the question is too vague to answer in a general way.
Well, what I would say about special education is I think that there needs to be a broad-based campaign to communicate to all parents around what is special education. Because you may have some parents that have specific needs for their children, but they did not know those things are available. Because the average parent does not know what an individual employment education plan is and how to get the kinds of services. And so from that standpoint, by having a broad-based campaign, it allows parents to understand what is available so that if they need to be tested to see if they can get special ed services, they now know, how to pursue that because they know what's part of that program.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
First of all, I would say we need to take away the label. Don't put a label on a particular child. We don't want to put a label on a child who may deal with retardation. And so when you label them, you already are ostracizing them. And with children pick up on that. The moment you say that child has a condition or whatever, children pick up on that. And then what we need to also do is make sure that you have people in place who are properly trained and equipped to handle those kind of children. And when I say those kind, I don't want to say it in a negative way, but you have to have people who know that sometimes they come to school and sometimes they have issues. Sometimes they have things going on. Sometimes they have behavioral problems. So whoever is there in that particular class to handle children, the SSD children, make sure that they're properly trained and equipped, and make sure that they have patience. You have to have patience.
Okay, Ms. Reed.
Yes, special ed children have been labeled a lot. They used to call them slow, retarded, but they finally changed the meaning of it. Now they call it mentally challenged, physically challenged, because it's not just what they don't know. Some of them can't walk. Some of them probably can't write. So they put the name so they wouldn't be characterized by saying they slow, retarded, mentally, something like that. But yeah, I'm so glad they changed the name. And they need the extra support because one child might need different services than the other child because they have to have an IEP, which is a form of assessment of what they need. And they're taken out of the class so they can be taught what they need for their services that they need.
Lynn.
This is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. As an administrator, the special school district was under my supervision, and working with the students was part of what I do as well. And one of the things that I came up with, I created a special education handbook that dealt with just what we're talking about tonight, the culture. And it starts with language. And we talked about labels, and everyone has said that, and the usage. But I think just some sensitivity activities in your classroom. All of us have some type of disability. I wear glasses, so my vision is not what it should be. All of us have disabilities, and I think if you start with some activities that deal with those kind of things, just kids talking about what they can't do, and then ask them this question: would you want to be known by what you can't do?
Thank you very much. Mr. Henderson, we're going to start with you this time. And what does Normandy need to do to obtain full accreditation?
If I were asked what are some of my goals, I would say I'd like to see that we double the number of students who are proficient in English or reading and math. And I would like to double the students who are eligible for the honor roll, national honor roll. Repeat the question, please.
What do we need to do to reach full accreditation?
We need to get our students educated so that they are proficient. And my answer that was interrupted because of the time limit on the reparation, that part of the reparation which goes to education, a fund for perhaps 8 or 10 years, would be to be able to afford an assistant teacher or a second teacher in every classroom.
Thank you very much. Mr. Humphrey.
Well, I think in approaching full accreditation, there's a number of parts to that. We first have to start early childhood education, because as I look at the data, we had 100. So strategically, we have to figure out how do we close the learning gap for that group. When we look at reading, we have to increase reading at all grade levels. It's important that we have attendance because, as I said before, attendance is critical because without the student being in school, the learning cannot take place. We have to also fully understand the difference between the transition from what's called MSEP 5 into MSEP 6 and the various parts that gives us the points toward accreditation. And we have to have a laser-like focus around the data that will drive us to full accreditation.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
I would agree with Mr. Humphrey on a couple of things that he said as far as the attendance, also the learning, teaching the students that reading is important. Arithmetic, but they don't do arithmetic anymore, but algebra, math, those things are very important. The teachers being committed to teaching the students what they need to do. I think those are the things that we really need to focus on, and making sure that whatever it is that we need to do to make sure that our students are coming to school, they're learning what they need to know, and then also making sure that we get parents involved. You have to make sure that the parents are involved in making sure that their children are attending school. You can't force them. If they're not there, you can't teach them. So I think it takes, I believe Ms. Marcietta said, it takes a village. It takes a village.
Much. Ms. Reed.
Yes, I agree with everyone said. First of all, we have to have the necessary resources for our kids to learn. Once we have the necessary resources, we got to make school fun, not just come to school to learn. We got to make it fun for them too. So they want to come to school. They want to not leave school, but that's another thing too. But after school programs for them, so they will want to come, and that would bring the attendance up, because once they want to come to school, they have all these resources and they have fun at school. They don't want to leave. So I think that's very important.
Feltus Flynn.
I agree with a lot of what has been said already. One thing that I think we need to understand is this is not just the Normandy Schools collaborative problem or challenge. This is all of our challenge. And it's going to take all of us to make this happen so that our kids can leave a school that has given them everything they need in order to succeed in life. And it's going to take some thinking outside the box. And this may sound very simple, but you know how when you were in school, you would have kids that were cutting up in several different classes, but when that kid got to Miss Thomas's class, they were like angels. They were well behaved. They were attentive. They were doing everything they needed to do to succeed. Let's get with those teachers. Let's get with those people that are having success. And trust me, there are teachers that are having success. Find out what's the secret ingredient and share it.
Thank you. Along with everyone else, I believe that attendance is the number one thing that can help with accreditation, but also the teachers. The teachers, we want teachers with longevity, with skill, that's not just skilled in their classroom, but across the board. When I was a student in Normandy, we had teachers who were the reading teacher, but she may have did something with art. So you combine all of those together. And also getting teacher assistants to assist the teachers. The classroom is looking a little more towards 20, 25 students, but all of those different personalities, one teacher just kind of clash. So if the students are coming to school and they're happy, or not even necessarily hybrid happy, but they have a good spirit about coming to school, they want to learn, they can also improve for the accreditation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Henderson.
What is the question? I know what I want to say. There's a part of my message that hasn't been delivered yet. What is the question you want me to respond to this time?
How are we going to improve these kinds of things?
By caring and showing we care. I need to apologize that this country, this is not a Normandy problem. This is a racial problem. The lowest scoring schools, districts in every part of the country are predominantly African American. Now, I was a substitute teacher, and I did extra volunteer work here at Normandy, and I was more impressed than ever about the quality of the students. They were first class. They were as good and bright as my children and my classmates, who were basically all white classmates. I want to apologize to say what my grandfather and grandmother, their prejudice, that came down. I apologize for what my grandparents did. It should not have happened, and we need to make it right.
Thank you. Mr. Humphrey.
Can you restate the question?
Ms. Pearson. To attain accreditation, what do we need for success there?
See, I think I answered that question. I think I was the very first one, so I can give you another answer if you'd
All right,
like one.
all right. Thank you. I think I was listening so hard that I messed up, so I apologize. Right. So we're going to start with Ms. Taylor this time. We're going to all breathe in and out. And a couple of people have asked, does every school have a PTO? And if they don't, what are you going to do about it?
Repeat the question.
Does every school in the district have a PTO? And if they don't, what are you going to do about it?
I am not sure if everyone has a PTO, but I believe that it's very important. It's very important that we have that. We have so many children that are lacking in so many areas within the Normandy School District. And so every entity, every department, we need it. We need it. We need everything that we can get. I was kind of stumped on the question when you asked me, but I believe that is very important. And I don't believe that all of the schools do have it, but I believe that it is important that each school should have those in order for our children to succeed.
When I was little going to school, I remember it was called a PTA. And parents were involved. They were helping out in the cafeteria, in the classrooms, and all of that. So we could get our parents back into the classroom, in the cafeterias, anywhere in the hallways, outside, or everything. And then the kids see their parents, and then they would say, oh, they taking an interest in where I'm at. So that'll make them want to come to school also. But PTOs are important, especially to the kids.
I agree that they are important. I think we need to have a plan. This is very important to have our parents involved. And we need to have one appointed person at each school to make sure that this happens. And we're not taking no for an answer. Let's get our parents in here. Sometimes all it takes is an invitation. A lot of parents are like, well, I would, but nobody ever invited me. No one ever asked me. Sometimes people need to be asked. You have not because you ask not.
Okay. Ms. Pearson.
I'm not sure if all of the schools have a PTO. I remember when my daughter was at the Early Childhood Center, there was a PTO. There was certain curriculum that the parents had to abide by in order for their child to attend their school, because there was 3 to 4 year olds attending preschool for free. So that's something different. But if there isn't a PTO, I believe a PTO could be formed in each school. I believe now that you have to fill out some type of background work. Let that background work be available when the children are being enrolled into school or re-enrolled into school, so the parent don't have a reason to say, oh, well, I can't come up to the school because I need to fill out X, Y, and Z. No, we already have it on file. Just let us know when you would like to come in and sit with the students or read with the students or attend a field trip or things of that such. Once the students, as was said, once the students see that the parents are involved and they want to be there, they kind of get their act together, because it's like, my mom's watching me, so let me act right.
All right. Mr. Henderson.
The PTOs in Normandy are almost no more. They have been replaced with good intention by this organization that's hosting us this evening. Out of the goodness of his Heart and Mind, Chris Kramer, and Beyond Housing implemented and paid for and may still be paying for out of a separate budget, which ought to be controlled by the school district. And I don't know if it is. They have a parent liaison person in each school. Now, the parent liaison person is doing the best job they know, but they're talking parent liaison to selected parents. And all parents are not talking to each other. The parent teachers ought to be reinstated so the parents can talk to one another. And the parents should be known to include the guardians.
Thank you,
Not
Mr.
all of the
Henderson.
children have biological parents.
Thank you. Mr. Humphrey.
When it,
Okay, it's Mr. Humphrey's turn. Mr. Humphrey, go ahead.
Okay, PTOs are very important. I had the opportunity to be the PTO president at the middle school. And I think the importance of PTOs is to get parents back into the school buildings. Because when you have parents back in the school buildings, you're able to build better, effective relationships between school and parent. And so for that reason, I think having that relationship, see, I'm not interested, while the parent comes in and they will do the help in the cafeteria, help in the playground, we need to be able to have parents having better relationships with teachers so that they can better understand curriculum and what things their children know and should know so they can help to drive the educational process at home.
Everybody's answered that, right? All right. Let me just say that as a follow-up to that, something that you can talk to folks afterwards about, because I want to cover one more topic. They're saying, what does a 21st century PTO look like? It may look differently, so they're probably going to want to talk to you about that. But just to make sure that you're on the hot seat here, a number of questions, including one that came in online, said, you know, you want this job? We really have to do better. How are you going to engage the community? And then they said things like this. You said you were going to do this. You said you were going to do that when you asked for my vote. You didn't do it. And I'm just saying you as a big you, okay, board members. You didn't do it. And you didn't answer me when I tried to reach out to you, okay? Why are you going to be different? I think that's a pretty good question from this community. So we are going to start with you. Yes, Ms. Reed.
Yes, we got to make an extra effort to the people. What we say we're going to do, we got to show more action. Just because I'm elected or whoever get elected, we got to prove them that we're going to do what we say. We're going to speak our word. We say we're going to do it, we got to do it and show special effort to reach them and show them that we do care and we have concern about what their questions are about. You know, we just have to be out there. We just got to get out there and make that extra effort.
Ms. Feltes-Flynn, how about you?
You have to do what you say. You got to keep your promises, pure and simple. Do what you say. Hold yourself accountable as the community holds you accountable. And if you can't do what you said or promised, then explain why you weren't able to do it. Be transparent. That's all people want.
I plan to keep an open line of communication. Let them know, yes, you elected me for the school board, but I also have to run it by everyone else on the board. I just can't make the decisions by myself. I do plan on staying to my word. keeping the communication open with everyone, the school district, the community, the students, the parents, all of it. So keeping the line of communication and noting that if I'm not able to keep the promise, I can work on trying to get that promise made.
Mr. Henderson, how about?
Yes. And here is fulfillment of a promise I made. I've never been on the board and failed to live up to a promise. I haven't had the chance to yet. But 12 years ago, I submitted a request to the board saying that in my move back from Philadelphia, I will help to establish again the student newspaper at the high school. And I came back. Sheila Williams, sitting here, called me in Philadelphia saying the board approved the school having a high school newspaper once again. I came back and I mentored the great group of students who revised the high school newspaper, the Courier. And then she was kind enough to send me a note. One more dream realized for Normandy. This is great, Driver. Thank you for your support, your persistence, and your hard work, Sheila.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Henderson.
Sheila.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Mr. Humphrey.
You know, when you talk about the subject of accountability, boards operate with one voice. And once the board identifies what needs to happen or what we want to have happen, implementation is the responsibility of the superintendent. So he has to carry out, based on what the board policy is, he crafts an administrative procedure, and then he carries out the wishes of the board. On the back end of that process, the board has to monitor the results to make sure that we're getting the effective outcomes from what we ask him to do. And so when that system is in place, you have more consistent accountability around how results are achieved.
Okay. Ms. Taylor.
I believe it was a personal question. What would I do if I were elected to the board? First of all, make sure that I'm available, because you never know when you may be stopped and asked about a particular situation. Make sure that you're available for that person. Make sure that you show concern, and showing concerns mean taking action. And then once you find a solution, or maybe not find a solution, make sure that I reconnect with them to let them know, okay, this is what I'm doing. Maybe I don't have the solution right now, but I'm working on it. And then if I'm able to provide a solution, I want to reconnect and say, this is the solution to whatever your problem is or whatever your concern is. Because I believe it was a personal question. What would I do if I were elected to the board? I want to make sure that I'm available, and I want to make sure that I am committed. And if I make the commitment, I want to make sure that I follow up and do that.
Thank you. Ms. Reed, did you have a chance to answer that one? Okay. So let me just say that everybody have a chance to answer that question. I think they did. Let me say, sort of mention some things that I think you could address in your closing statements. And we're going to start with you on that closing statement, Ms. Pearson, but I know you can listen fast. A number of people have said, what would you bring to the board? How are we going to make these people work together and be engaged? A couple of people said, and this is a tougher one, hey, if you've served on the board before, given the problems we have, why should we give you a second chance or a third chance? And some folks out here want to know that. What do you bring from your engagement in the community? Because we've talked tonight, the community has to help too. What can you uniquely bring to the board from the community? And what do you think your best personal characteristic is to do this, and why do you want to So does that make sense for a final statement to hear from these folks? Is that okay? All right. So, Ms. Pearson, I bet you're ready to go.
What I bring to the board, I'm a fresh face. I've been on all sides. I've been a student. I am a current parent. I did work in the community, from community conferences to Trailblazer Awards, to just volunteering my time to helping parents learn how to work during the pandemic. I bring results. That's my unique thing. It may take me a minute, and by a minute, I mean months. But I'm going to bring you the results that you want, bring you the results that you need. And if I cannot bring them, I probably know someone who can assist me in bringing those type of results. And that comes with being on a board. Everyone brings their own type of personality, and I will bring mine, and mine will be results. I've done work with Beyond Housing as far as doing the community conferences, Trailblazer Awards. I've been part of the parent-teacher organizations with my child when they were had inside of the school, and I want to bring those back. Again, my characteristic is results. I'm a fresh face. I've been on all sides, as I stated. I've definitely been a student. I'm now a parent. I'm also in the community. So I know what's missing. I know what needs to be brought. And I know what can use as improvement.
Okay, Ms. Feltus Flynn.
Like many on this panel, I'm involved in the community. I'm a part of the Normandy Kiwanis Club. We're all out all over the community doing great things with children. I started my own nonprofit to work with giving students, graduating seniors, a scholarship. And we do that in the Normandy School District as well. So I'm all around involved in the community. I've been living in the district for 35 years. So I've been here a long time, and then I bring my experience in education from the teacher point of view, from the administrative point of view, and those are things that you just can't look over. We know that times have changed, but there are some things that remain constant, and that is really to have a caring group of people. I think sometimes the intangibles are lost, and we need to bring the intangibles there. There's no substitute for a heart, a caring heart, people that care about our children and have a vested interest in them and their success. And I want to thank you again, the engaged and empowered citizens. That's why you're here. We need more like you. Can you go and duplicate yourselves? I want to thank the Normandy Schools Collaborative, League of Women Voters, and Beyond Housing for this great opportunity tonight. I want to close with this quote by Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, the only way that ever has. Like all of you, I'm a committed citizen that has given if given the chance to have a seat on the Normandy Schools Collaborative Joint Executive Board, I would continue to advocate on behalf of public education.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Reed.
Yes, like I said before, I'm a retired educator. Even though I have a busy schedule because I'm involved in so many community outreach things still, but I still connect with the children. I'm a ready reader volunteer. I go to the school and I read to the children once a week because I still have that connection with them. And I don't think it's ever going to leave, but I still have that connection. And so I'm on both sides of the field, being an educator and being a parent. So you on one way, you see one way, and then the other way, you see a difference too. So, and all the children have to know have concern. They need to know that you are concerned about them and you support them because all children are different. I have a box of crayon. I had, of course, it's purple because I'm a purple girl, but and all these crayons, they say purple, but each one of them are different because this one says violet purple. This one says um, plum purple. This one says blue purple, but all of them are different, but they look the same. And they're all, everybody would say they're purple, but they're not. They're different colors. So we treat our children with the different gifts they have. We can treat them at what they know. And also, I want to leave you with this quote. My famous person, Benjamin E. Mays, he was a minister and educator, and he was a social activist and a scholar. And he always said, a child must learn early to believe that he is somebody worthwhile, and that she or he can do many praiseworthy things.
Ms. Taylor.
Good evening again. And as I mentioned, being a parent of 4 Normandy graduates, I now have a 12-year-old granddaughter who lives with me, and she attends Washington Elementary. I don't have a lot of educational degrees. I don't have a PhD, a MD, a BA, and all of the other things. And so I think my abilities that I would bring to this position as a grandparent and raising 7 grandchildren, I have 7 grandchildren that I see not as often as I used to. But I believe that our children are our future. And that's the one thing that I'm concerned about, making sure that my grandchildren, I call them and I'm saying to them, how are you doing in school? I want to know how they're doing because I don't always get a chance to see them. And then I look at our young people. Often we drive up and down the streets and we see young people who are not in school. I don't know about any of you all, but my first thought is, why are you not in school? Where is the parent? Why isn't the parent concerned that you are not where you are supposed to be? The other thing is, as a grandparent, I know that there are so many grandmothers who are raising their grandchildren. So we have to fill in the blanks and we have to make sure that we do everything that we can. So as a part of the board, I want to make a commitment and say, anytime I'm given a task, when I was at AT&T, my task was to talk with the irate customers. It was my job to make sure that solutions were made, and I fulfilled those. Obligations, and that's my story.
Thank you very much. Mr. Humphrey.
Well, as a current board member, I made a conscious decision upon retiring after 18 years working with the Boy Scouts of America, while I had invested in the development of young people, that it was clear that I had a skill set to come back to assist the district. Because I could have easily have done things in retirement that did not include education. But as I look at where we are as a district, I felt that I could come to the table to bring some skills and resources to help move us to the next level of where we need to be. It is a process. And as I said before, the board has to speak with one voice. And collectively, I think as an individual, I believe I'm an effective communicator. I spend a lot of time in the district schools talking to the students, talking to the teachers, so that when I come back into board meetings, I have a perspective around which I would talk. I'm going to end my comments by, as everyone was indicating, they had a quote. I do have one that I look at every day, and it drives me in the work that I do. And this particular quote is from Dr. Ron Edmonds, who is a deceased educator from Harvard. And this is what he said: we can, whenever and wherever we choose, to successfully teach all children whose schooling is of interest to us. We already know more than enough in order to do this. whether we do it, it must finally depend on how you feel about the fact that we haven't done so already. So as a board member, I want to challenge us to the point of being uncomfortable, because we should not be satisfied with the fact that our children are not performing at the level that they do. So we have to continue to set up effective systems. We have to have consistent communication with the superintendent so that we can get the results that we desire.
Mr. Henderson.
I'm a Christian. They will know us by our love. As a board member, my biggest opportunity is to help and to work with my fellow board members and the superintendent. All that the board does is directed to and through the superintendent. And we want to be successful in doing that. I have a dream. My dream is that we're going to be accredited, we're going to be looked upon as equals, and we're going to have justice throughout this country. And Normandy, I think, can play a role.
Let's give these candidates a round of applause. I'd like to end the evening with some comments, and I hope that everybody will stay and talk to these candidates. You're very lucky to have 6 people who, at least from my view, care about your community. And I hope that you will share the recording of this meeting with as many people as you can, because if they missed it, at least from my point of view, they missed something they should have heard. So I want to thank you for participating and caring. And I want to thank all of you for coming and making this a successful community event. And thanks again to the Collaborative and Beyond Housing, and thanks to my fellow volunteers from the League of Women Voters. This is what we're doing in our retirement. And so we're hand in hand, because these are all of our children. If you found this forum to be helpful, think about joining us. We have a growing unit in North County. And we are at the legislature every week fighting the legislature's foolish actions. And as I said earlier, one of the things we're fighting the hardest for is equitable funding, not equal funding. Ladue doesn't, need equal funding. We need equal funding. We need it in the city where I live. We're there to preserve the citizens' petition. We're there to make sure that everybody has access to vote, and we're in court over that, et cetera, et cetera. So think about joining us, particularly in North County, because you've got a group of committed league people now, headed by Louise Wilkerson, who some of you may know, who is trying to make things better in this part of the county. Learn about candidates and ballot issues, because we have a voter's guide that's for 6 counties, so tell people who live other places, 6 counties that's going to go live on March the 17th. It has 1,100 candidates in it, including these, because we do it for 6 counties, and 132 ballot issues. And you just put in your address, and the young people that are everybody, they like the web. You put in your address, up comes your ballot and nothing else. And it has information, nonpartisan, fair, accurate information on all the things that you will be voting on. And of course, vote. My heart was broken yesterday when in my city, 20% came out for the first round of the new Board of Aldermen, 20%. 20, if you counted the absentee. But I'm just saying that isn't enough. People need to vote. And I want each of you to promise you're going to get 5 people who don't usually vote to go out and vote. If you need help or information, please call the League of Women Voters. We've got our number out there, and we'll help in any way that we can. The ballot issues in the voter's guide is going to be in the Post-Dispatch 2 Sundays before the election. okay? And they're going to put it in the Sunday paper. Our volunteers also carry about 15,000 print copies of these, and we have a lot of locations which we bring them to in North County. And if you want one, just call us, and we'll make sure that you get one. So that's what we're trying to do. The polls are going to be open Tuesday, April the 4th from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you are lucky in the county because you can go to any single polling place now. You know this, right, folks? Any single one in the whole county. Close to work, close to where you have to stop to go to the doctor, pick up your grandchildren, whatever. You can vote at any polling place. I can't do that yet, okay? Because the city hasn't bought the new equipment. But you can, and you need to tell all of these people that they can do that as well. Please inform yourself about these things. I know that young people, because I talked to a lot of them, I was at Friendly Temple yesterday at the end of the day, and all these kids would keep walking by who were old enough to vote, and I'd say, come on and vote. And they'd say, are we voting for president? Of course, you know, you gotta, but I said, you know, the elections that count the most are the ones in your own backyard, your schools, your trash, your personal safety, your city, okay? So let's get these people out to vote. Thank you very much. It was an honor to come out here and do this. And please stay afterwards and look at that lovely spread that Beyond Housing has put out there. Have a snack and talk to these people or talk to us. And thank you very much and good evening.